What's up, you guys? I'm Renata Singh, and welcome to another episode of Hope Unfiltered. I have joining me Pastor J. How you doing?
I'm doing really good today.
You excited for this topic?
Kinda, yeah. I think because it's gaining more momentum, so a good topic to tackle.
Today we're going to be chatting about Halloween, because it's going to be tomorrow. Halloween is tomorrow. So just thought it was fitting to have this discussion. Hopefully we don't be cancelled or anything after.
Plenty cancellations happening
you
right
know. But the MPs got a game for us, so we're going to head over to our icebreaker now. What you got for us?
All right, so the icebreaker for today is called Read My Lips.
You just made that name up.
Basically. So someone's going to have their headphones on.
Right.
Music is going to be playing. Mm-hmm. The other person has a phrase they have to say. So the person with the headphones could only read their lips and have to guess what they're saying. The person that guesses the most correct wins.
Okay.
I'll give a duration of what?
Wait,
20 seconds of guessing.
Okay.
15 seconds around
15.
there. Yeah.
20 seconds are long.
Yo, I already lost this by default. I cannot read lips, but let's go.
You never know.
So Jay brought his own personal headphones for this game.
Bro, don't set me up like this, huh?
Alright, so let's make sure Jay... I mean, he's an honest pastor, right? So, let's hope he actually presses play so he can't hear us.
No, I'm going to watch.
Tell me when to put on the music.
You're hearing us still?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, press play.
All right.
And put it down so I can make
A
sure.
little loud.
Right, very good.
First one.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Glory, glory, Man United.
I thought you said he wasn't good at this game.
I know.
No. Well, I don't even know how loud I'm talking, but I know the MP. I know the MP. So I started to think of certain things with the MP, how he set up this game. So, and then you did real good there. Help him to get nice.
All right, I
Ready?
will
Music
help you
again?
next time. Oh, I have to do my 3.
Yeah, 3
Okay.
one time.
You're not
Music,
gonna
that's
get
not
it.
music, right?
Yeah. I'm making sure.
She real good at this. You want some sorrel?
Yeah, that's correct. So probably don't, accentuate so much in the next one.
Oh, so,
Okay.
all right, so I know what I'll do though, but you ready? Last one? One more time.
I got you. I hope you don't get this in.
I have no idea what she's saying. It looked like I'm a melon. I'll go with I'm a melon.
No.
What was it?
I can tell her.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Halloween.
It looked kind of close. I'm a melon.
Okay.
All right.
That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, two.
Well, I am hurt.
I'm real happy. I was just hoping to get one. Yeah, but
Jay might have to restart the sound now.
It's halfway in.
so the object is who will win, right? Like
Yeah, so you have 2.
I have 2. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, you ready?
Yeah. 2 doubles, heavy pepper.
You can say it because
Do it
you were
again.
here.
2 doubles, heavy pepper.
Something with doubles have pepper.
Try
Close.
again.
I go on. 2 doubles, heavy pepper.
What?
Yes.
You're close. You're like very,
You're real
very
close.
Two doubles with slide pepper.
Very close, but not quite.
Yeah.
That's time.
Yeah, that's time.
That's time. Pause it.
What was it?
2 doubles, heavy pepper. You get real good. You get close. You get real close.
I need to take off my glasses.
Yeah, that'll make your hair better.
What?
That'll take off your glasses and make your hair
You
better.
see better. I should have been wearing my glasses for this. Ready?
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Next one. Ronaldo is the GOAT.
No, he's not.
She know that one. You got it.
Messi is the GOAT.
You're going to divide the crowd here with that one.
Wait, you like Ronaldo?
Yeah, I like him.
Who you prefer?
Ooh. You're going to put me on the spot here.
Yeah?
I would say Messi's the better team player, but if I want an individual player on my
I don't
side,
like this kind of
Ronaldo's
in-between careful answer.
No, Ronaldo is who more exciting for me, and just see.
So you like Ronaldo?
Yeah, just the way he's applied to the
You know,
football.
if I really like you right now.
All right, for that, the last one, I know I do it.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hope Unfiltered podcast. Hope Unfiltered podcast.
Hope Unfiltered podcast.
Yeah, you see, I give it easier.
We kind of got to.
Yeah, but she almost got the 3. You were real close to that.
Yeah. So it's a draw.
Oh, I can't believe you.
Yeah, but Jay was real trying to twist up his mouth.
Yes, he
what
was,
I mean?
and I was like, oh, how do I make sense out of this?
I know. I
don't even look like words.
I realized if the last one I could have win it, but you see, all the good nature in my.
You let me win.
No, you didn't win. What are you talking about?
Oh, well, you let me almost win.
Yeah, I could have. No, I let you not lose.
Whatever.
Well, we're very competitive on this podcast.
I am not I don't really consider myself competitive.
MP is she competitive?
Yeah.
I mean, how would he know?
I mean, he seems to know a lot, you know.
Yeah, man, but do my research on you also.
Oh, you little stalkerish.
Yeah,
there.
he have profiles.
All right, so we're ready to jump into the discussion. So, how do you go from that to this? Anyways, today we'll be discussing Halloween, like I mentioned, and we're going to be talking about, is Halloween rooted in pagan practices, and should Christians participate?
I think the last part there is really the question that people would be considering.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah,
for sure. All right, so some random facts about Halloween. Halloween's original name was All Hallows Eve. It's an old English way of saying All Saints Evening. Mm-hmm. Ireland hosted the first ever Halloween parade, and that was back in 1992.
In terms of the more commercialized part that we know now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, this is I was kind of surprised by this fact. Halloween is the second largest commercial holiday in America, in that it brings in real people. Let's put it that way.
It's money.
It's real money.
Yeah.
And obviously, the number one on the list is Christmas, right? All right, so we're going to jump into this discussion. We're going to discuss, firstly, the origins of Halloween. Where did this thing come from? Because I feel like it's always good to find the roots of things, the source of it.
So I think because it's, let's just say it's on the forefront, there probably are challenges to the roots of it. So what we have is probably not the clearest part, but what most roads lead to is our Celtic tradition, and so which people would hear about, and so the Druidic influence in terms of way back, and the truth is, plenty of people still debate that though.
Yes.
But a lot of what we found though, it still points back
to that,
to being the closest origin. So we just want to be clear. We're not
making absolute statements in that regard.
Correct.
But obviously, like you mentioned, when we look at the roots of it, that seems to be the most common.
But it also matches a lot of the connection to the recent applications.
Yes.
So the Celtic belief was that around that time was the thinnest veil between the living and the dead.
Yes.
That you could communicate with the dead. Mm-hmm. And even the All Saints Day sort of aligns with that as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason we kind of still see that as being at least very prominent part of Halloween. Yeah,
1,000%. Yeah, I agree with you. And just kind of leading into the whole Celtic Druidic influence, you did mention that they believe that that's like the time period where there's like this thin veil between the dead and the living world.
Yeah.
And one of the things or practices back then is that they used to dress up their kids in costumes so that these fairies or monsters or demons would not come kidnap their kids.
Right.
So I
have
guess
them in disguise.
Correct. Yeah. So that
even all that, yeah,
kind of leads into the current culture.
Yeah,
right
the culture
now,
that we have with it, for sure.
So this Samhain they actually call it, but Americans pronounce it Samhain, I think. That was the name of the festival. The Celtic people would have celebrated. It's a harvest festival. Again, just to believe that these evil spirits roamed freely around that specific time.
I think that's why too. Just everything you said there, the dressing up. They even used to exchange first foods and sweets and so.
Yeah.
So even like all those sort of traditions with it really lines up to it. So I think that's why we're comfortable saying, okay, it may not have been the root, but it definitely came. A lot of those traditions are in line with it as well.
Yeah, definitely. You could see similarities, like we mentioned, to what's being currently practiced to date. Let's move along to the Roman influence.
Right.
I hope I'm pronouncing this correct. Feralia and Pomona were the... this is where we see the fusion of the Christian and Celtic traditions. The holiday, and that was the All Saints Day, and obviously the Samhain from the Celtic. Around that time, Christianity became a little bit more popular. So you had like a lot more missionaries going out into the
Celtic, these Celtic places.
And the holiday kind of began losing popularity, I guess, because of the fact that these Christian missionaries were preaching and people were being converted and stuff like that. And so they found that instead of Christians eradicating the pagan practices, they fused it with their beliefs, making it easier for the local population to convert to the state
trouble there.
Oh my God, sorry. So that's kind of what happened, and so we see the Celtic people and the Roman people kind of coming together
missionaries
to fuse, I guess, religious practices as well as their cultural traditions and stuff like that. And that's when we saw the birth of what we know as All Saints Day.
Yeah. But is the same type of belief anyway?
Yes.
Like celebrating the dead or also, and even in some countries, like when I was researching this, the Day of the Dead or so,
in
Mexico, those sorts of countries, they actually believe your relatives come back.
Yes.
So it's the same as All Saints Day, but they have their own beliefs attached to it. So that's something that we should probably differentiate. Not saying all Christianity is on that, but across different cultures, it's mixed and meshed in different ways. Yeah.
It's so interesting, I guess, like how things from past, how it has developed to what it has become today in different cultures as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of almost like a formation of new subcultures almost all over the world.
No, absolutely.
And again, it all leads back to the influence of specific ancient practices.
Rituals and beliefs and so. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So some traditional practices explained. But before we go to this, we should browse social media. I did, and there has quite a number of interesting things surrounding this topic of Halloween. So we could probably take a look at some of these videos and give our feedback on it.
What's 5 ways I celebrate Halloween as a Christian guilt-free? 1, I don't stay up late. 2, I don't drink or party. 3, I hand out clean candy that parents don't have to check. 4, I have a fun time with friends and family doing cute little coordinated costumes. My kid wants to dress up as a cat. That's not demonic. She wants to dress up as a princess. I don't want to dress up as a princess. And I don't think that's unchristian to let my kid dress up as a princess or a cat. And 5, I don't do any sort of demonic rituals or worshiping. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
That's a big one.
That's a big one, man. Thoughts,
I don't get the first one, the whole staying up late.
And stuff, yeah. I don't know what that was referring to. I guess she's addressing something like whatever the conversations around her. But just overall, I don't even think those were like, obviously the partying and the drinking would fall into it, but the rest of stuff is she's taking like the more neutral aspects of it. The whole idea of Halloween is she never really addressed anything with that.
Exactly?
Yeah. So for me, that was just, saying you don't take part in satanic worship also, I think most people would, that by default.
Yeah, I was kind of confused about the clean candy situation.
I think they do have problems with that with people. I think I've read something with that where clean candy, not in terms of health, but like safety.
Right, yeah.
People do like mischievous things with these snacks.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
interesting.
So she's actually speaking more from the actual acceptance of it all.
Yeah.
And just talking about best practices for Halloween, which
Yeah.
I feel like didn't really address the core of it.
Yes.
Like, should you be a part of it? So saying I'm a Christian and ways I celebrate it, the question it should be, well, should I celebrate it?
Exactly. And her thing is probably, I ain't going light and candle or sing any kind of,
Yeah.
So I'm not doing anything demonic. But we will address that later on.
We're going to
podcast.
that. Yeah, for sure.
All right, the next one.
What can Christians do on Halloween? How about you dress up as an angel? An angel represents light in the midst of darkness. Buy candy, pray over it, and give it to others as a blessing. Show love, don't judge those dressed in evil costumes. Simply pray for them. Pray for your neighborhood or city. Play worship music and praise the Lord on that day. Remember that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. If you believe that God has more power against evil, type God is powerful in the comments and follow for more.
What your thoughts on that one then?
Just because you're dressing up like an angel doesn't make it any.
But when my Bible say even Satan is come as an angel of light, so I you start bad there one time, so that just it don't change the fact of it, but some of the other things I actually found was decent, like don't judge people who doing it.
Of course.
I think we should adapt that in just not for Halloween but other things.
We could embrace people that, we can embrace people, but it doesn't mean that we have to participate.
Correct. So like that part, no problem. When he said, play praise and worship that day, like I hope you're all doing that like every day, right?
Right. That was my first thought. I was like, only on that. It sounded like, specifically on that day.
Like,
I have to do it.
And don't be fearful, but like that is good context as well. Because there are some people, some Christians who go to the other extremity and act like if it's
something to be fearful of. Yeah. Okay. We could probably do one more.
Yep, good stuff.
Good stuff?
This one, no. What I'm saying good stuff. This is the one the MP sent in now.
Yes.
So that's what I say was good. So I know who it came from.
Right.
So yeah,
I don't even understand Romans. What was it? 28? I think I saw I don't get
just quick. It's just
I don't get the points of it.
I think people just trying to make their own statement, whatever they respond to. Just like the first woman, she's talking in a context that I didn't think was as broad, but same thing for this, whatever they.
It's like us Christians celebrate this thing too, and we can find ways to do it. Yeah. That is, and I guess they could probably use the excuses that, I can meet people on that day and minister to them, and that's some of the reasons that people
Some people say they decorate their homes like that so that people will be coming and they could able to greet them, and so I know what you're saying. They have the reasoning for it.
Yeah.
But I guess that's where we'll go into a deeper conversation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Around why.
100%. Now, okay, let's talk about some traditional Halloween practices and kind of explain what they are. To be honest with you, I had no idea what these things were until I actually read up on them. First time I actually ever heard about it, like souling and guising. Like, what are those things?
Likewise, when you send some of these notes, I didn't know it was like these things were traditionally part of it, to be honest.
But you know, in reading, it's still, when I read it, I'm like, yo, even though these things were part of tradition, I could see like where the whole...
It's how it's connected, like it's still,
It made more sense then. So souling. This refers to a traditional practice in certain parts of the UK, particularly in areas like, oh my gosh, Stanfordshire, and I don't know how to pronounce that next one. Help me.
No, you asking me to pronounce something?
You pronounce some real kind of words sometimes as you like. Okay.
That is after Googling how to pronounce it.
Cheshire. That's English, right? So let's hopefully we
Ren, I have a list. I am not going to even attempt saying that.
Cheshire and Stanfordshire. Okay, hopefully we got that correct. If we didn't, we're sorry. It involves a custom known as souling, sometimes called souling in dialects, where people, especially children or the poor, would go door to door singing songs or prayers for the dead in exchange for food, typically soul cakes, they called it. This practice, which took place around All Saints' Day, November 1st, and All Souls' Day, November 2nd, is thought to be one of the precursors to modern-day trick-or-treating.
Yeah, so you see the direct correlation almost.
People would offer prayers for the souls of the departed in return for the cakes, which symbolize the soul being freed from purgatory. It was a blend of Christian and folk customs that eventually evolved into some of the Halloween traditions we know today. And purgatory, that is a concept from Catholic.
Yeah. Roman Catholic. Yeah.
Specifically, yeah. Your thoughts on souling?
Well, I mean, just like you said, you see the direct correlation in terms of how similar it has been. And I think even at the beginning, we spoke about how different cultures really mixed in with this.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that stands out the most for me is the way that the early church in this regard really tried to mix some of the beliefs and so within it. So for me, like, you see the pattern that still continues, but really the conversation is, okay, should we as Christians believe or participate in stuff like that?
Halloween, and even if you look at it from the Christian standpoint, traditionally, it's kind of rooted in compromise. So
why you say that?
The early church, how this thing became like a fusion of two different cultures.
With Christianity.
It was as a result of the church compromising on their faith and beliefs to some extent. So I think Halloween, like I said, is kind of rooted in compromise, if you look at just history. So... yeah, but this souling thing.
Well, it'll come for her in the comments.
Wait, thanks, eh?
No, but I agree with you. That the thing about it is, because that's why I rather address somebody else's culture, so they're entitled to that.
Yeah.
Where I have an issue is where we as Christians
have adopted it
to mean something, even whether or not you think is good or so, but it's not biblical.
Yeah.
Like, we ain't going to be talking or having visits from any family or friends or any saints or anything, despite whatever may be taught otherwise. At least that's not my belief when I read the scriptures.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the bigger issue. So I agree with it. Right? They come for both of us.
But yeah, back to the souling thing. I think, like, growing up, I always thought trick-or-treating was something that was just a modern-day thing. I think that recently happened, but it's clearly, like, rooted in some sort of historical practice. So that was interesting to me.
What's good is, like, you actually, well, not good, but it's good to see the historical part of it where it's from all different places in the world. So, like, you know, it's not just one specific place. It's not, because I used to think it was a U.S. thing.
Yeah. I mean, we would think so because they are the ones that have kind of made it
commercialize it
around the world. Yeah. And they're kind of like one of the main ones with the whole festivities
they
and
are
stuff
the
like
ones
that.
Pushing it from what we saw.
Yeah, 100%. Guising. Guising is another traditional practice, Halloween practice, and it's particularly common in Scotland and Ireland and is similar to modern-day trick-or-treating. The word guising comes from disguising, and it involves children dressing up in costumes or guises and going from house to house. Unlike trick-or-treating, where children simply ask for candy, in guising, the children are expected to perform a party piece, such as singing a song, reciting a poem, telling a joke, or performing a trick in exchange for treats like fruit, nut, or sweets.
So they basically had to work for their snacks.
Correct. That's real sad, boy.
I mean, like culturally, they probably found it fun, like performing or doing something.
Kind of like a community event too, because that's one of the other reasons why people say,
it really brings like that. That is one of the things we hear a lot. Yeah,
it's a positive side of
Halloween. Yes, celebrating
festivities. Yep. But however, it says here that Geising has deep roots in Celtic traditions, particularly the festival of Samhain or Samhain, however they pronounce it, which marked the end of the harvest and the start of winter. It was believed that the spirits of the dead could return to Earth during this time, and the people would wear disguises to protect themselves from any harmful spirits.
So again, we see that very similar, almost the same, from a far different culture as well with it as well.
Right, fast forward, kind of. I mean, we've touched on the where it came from and stuff like that, but now we're seeing like from around the 18th century or so, where the tradition kind of took roots in the U.S. And we have to talk about that because they have made this thing what it is globally.
Today. Yeah.
In colonial America, Halloween blended with Native American harvest. Again, the fusion of another
culture, different cultures blending. Yeah.
Again, it was also a harvest celebration, and it actually was made popular in Maryland and southern colonies. So it's the southern parts of the U.S. Yeah. Then we see in the 19th century, Irish and Scottish influence. They came to the U.S., there was a potato famine, and they went across to the U.S., and they brought some of their Halloween customs to the U.S.
Because they were strong on it.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, you see how it kind of, the Irish and Scottish, so it kind of almost cements what they were practicing from the colonial American days, which would have been like the 18th century.
But it's cool to see that though, like the historical events driving different peoples into these spaces, and then you start to see the adaptation of the different culture and beliefs and so around it. Yeah.
So early 20th century, the trick-or-treating began. Halloween evolved into community-based events with parties and games for children. Trick-or-treating became popular as a way to curb vandalism. I found that so interesting. I guess that had to be specific to some sort of the time period.
Communities as well too. I don't think it would have been like the entirety of the festivities, but it probably was used to really kind of, how you said, the community together. Pull people together and just kind of keep them out of trouble.
And to be honest with you, I can see how it can be interpreted as that.
No, for sure.
Yeah. Because it does foster that sort of togetherness amongst communities. There are even schools that participate.
Everyone coming out together. I mean, and if you look at our communities nowadays, I mean, aside from Trinidad with crime, but we have really lost that kind of community or village. Yeah. Not everywhere in Trinidad, obviously, but for the majority of us, people just go to their homes and they are basically inside.
Yeah.
So you could see where people would say, well, no, this actually brings the community together.
And see it as a positive.
Correct.
So fast forward to where we are at now. The commercialization of Halloween became obviously very heavily commercialized with candy costumes, decorations, and horror-themed media becoming central. The focus shifted more to the entertainment aspect of it.
I think entertainment as well as really the commercial,
Yeah.
It's because it's big business.
Yes.
I was looking at it. Halloween brings in almost over $10 billion in the U.S.
Yep.
So that's why it's not like a conspiracy thing. It's if they see money coming in, they'll keep pushing, advertising,
100%.
Bringing more people to get involved.
100%.
So it's business. So that's a big part of it that kind of stays on the background.
Yeah.
But it's worth mentioning.
I don't know, not just this topic, but generally we've seen, like, if you look at trends specifically to how the U.S. behave, a lot of the things that they do and push and the agendas that they push, it comes back to money.
It's money making.
So once it's making money, they on it.
Expect the businesses to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Business is business, like they say, right?
Yeah.
How is Halloween celebrated today? We kind of just touched on that, dress up parties, trick or treats. There was this thing that I saw recently, so it's called trunk or treat. It's where like people pull up to a car park. Churches actually take part in this in the U.S.
Right. And they have the snacks and they decorate the trunk and so it comes like a mobile home kind of thing. Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah.
So again, this whole.
But again, I guess that shows how it evolves too.
Yes.
That's like they're finding newer ways to get more participation, more events around it, and so.
100%. Even locally here, we've seen kind of an uptick recently in terms of like events, that Halloween themed events. Yeah. When I was younger growing up, not so much, to be honest. At least where I lived, we never celebrated Halloween. There was no trick or treating. That was kind of seen like a taboo thing almost. Like,
same for me. But I know it's become much more accepted and even celebrated. And again, I think a lot of it too is business related. So you see a lot of parties that might have a dress up event, and it pulls a crowd. It pulls a different crowd sometimes. Yeah. But it's still like people going to have a good time, so to speak. And
exactly. Even businesses participate in
decorating, have sales.
Yeah.
Again, it's commercially driven.
Exactly.
You can get more feet in the door. It works, huh?
I guess that's how it starts, once it starts to kind of infiltrate. I think Halloween in Trinidad, and I don't know what your experience is with it, but I know like there are certain parts of the country that are a little more heavily involved in the trick-or-treating aspect and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that. Definitely an uptake on that aspect as well. I think it's slowly, we globalize now, and so I think for all our media, and most of it comes from the US, a lot of our influence, dressing, everything, culture, and so it's not surprising that it has become part of, so even my youngest daughter, they actually have they have an event in their school, Halloween movie night or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So I'm saying, like, it's becoming more adapted or accepted.
Yeah.
As just
and honestly, like, again, the media, like you mentioned, like kids channels and stuff like that. Let's just look at Disney Channel, Nickelodeon. Like, their whole programming changes and shifts.
Around this time. No, so even the YouTube algorithms, my daughter will be watching stuff, but all of a sudden it's being pushed because it's Halloween coming up.
Yes.
And all of a sudden her favorite characters or what she's watching sometimes.
In a Halloween theme.
And yeah, it's an episode for that. So those are things that we have to always be mindful of. So it's infiltrating from everywhere. So if kids are being introduced to it, that nothing's wrong with it, it's good, it's something you should take part in, by the time they become teenagers, adults, and so, you can see why it's been widely accepted now.
I would say this, and I might get shots for saying this, but had I not known what the roots of Halloween was, I may have been a little more acceptant to it, because it seems very harmless. You're not, again, you ain't doing no chanting or you ain't lighting no candle, so it seems very harmless. This fun thing where people get together.
And then if you add that, the community
side of it, it just seems good. Like, something who don't want to have fun and have that sort of fellowship with people.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So.
But now that I understand like the roots of it, or I knew the roots of it before, that's one of the reasons I never participated in it altogether. Because, have you ever participated or wanted to?
I grew up in a pastor's home.
That's don't say nothing.
Our old generation, okay. Older generation. But now we treated it like the same. I would say though, I was very intrigued with like movies and media that spoke about the supernatural. Okay. So around Halloween, I would enjoy the horrors. Like I would watch, and because that's what I grew up around. Like
really,
like because in the church world, the spiritual aspect is a big deal.
Yeah.
So when you start to see Hollywood,
but you don't get scared when you're watching those things.
The truth is, not at that time.
Okay.
But now, actually, when I watch stuff, I get a different feel to.
Is it
to be
because
honest.
of your understanding?
Yeah. Like some of the things that they push out there is not just entertainment.
And it is not.
It's really
and we need
dark.
to talk about that. So, like,
we could probably do an episode on entertainment industry.
Yeah, we should. I mean, you guys can let us know what.
For sure.
What
let us know if you want to. Yeah. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like the things that you see in some of those movies are not just things to sound a little eerie. They're real. A lot of them. Like the chanting and the spells and
it's real things that they research and they bring. And just because the directors want it to be authentic, they want their movies to be more believable and so.
Of course.
So they actually bring in real spells, real incantations, all those things. It's actually a real part. So we expose
And
ourselves.
I mean, you know, people, there might be Christian people that like horrors and stuff and might be like, oh, God has not given me a spirit of fear, you know? So I could go and watch these shows. What would be your response to
So, you know, I will take some shots with this one, right? So you spoke about like horrors, right? Mm-hmm. But we've already been desensitized. When you watch all the superhero movies, Marvel and all of them, there's serious witchcraft in all of them.
Yeah.
There were movies that mock Christianity blatantly. Mm-hmm. And so people saying, you know, they go in no spirit of fear, that's not the issue. How I could be saying I worship a God with my whole life, with everything, and then I go give funding, give support, give my time, give my energy into a space that actually mocks or even goes against that belief also. For me, I think it's personal conviction.
Okay.
Because I used to do it. I used to be part of it. Like I said, I would watch all the horrors, all those things. But just now, I think it's a wisdom issue.
Yeah.
If you're going to be wise in how you guard your mind, because those things do affect you.
Yeah. Not because you can do something means that you should.
Correct. I love how you said that. That's actually really, really well said.
All right. Halloween across the globe. I have it more from like the religious part of it. So like Christians in different various countries. Do you have like the various countries and stuff like that?
In terms of what? Like that
like how people celebrate, yeah.
I actually was more looking at countries that don't celebrate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually found that to be a little bit intriguing to see how they did it. So they took it from all across the globe. Mm-hmm. What I found was interesting was like the Asian countries, some do, but like countries like Mongolia, they actually put a ban on it in like 2018, 2019. And the only reason they had Halloween come in was because they had like exchange programs where teachers would come in to teach different languages. Okay. And they would bring, part of learning the language was to learn about different festivities and so. So they started introducing it. So schools started to be part of it. And the government decided to actually ban it because they found it was actually removing people from the Buddhist belief and their own national kind of standard religion, of how to live and how to think and so. And so they actually put a ban on it. So they actually had several countries that I came across that did that when they found that their culture was being eroded too quickly for something else that they didn't quite agree with or believe in and so.
Oh, wow.
So.
Okay. I think like us in the Caribbean, I think we are becoming a little bit more, like you said, desensitized and kind of more accepting to it. But generally, I feel like we're not 100% there. I feel like there are quite a number of persons that are still kind of like,
I think we still have a majority, but I probably will stay away from it.
Yeah.
So we still have a resistance, but I think it's quickly fading though. Yes. I agree with you. We're not there yet, but
you could see the trends. Like
the trend, yeah. We being fed. So like I said, my daughter, who's 3 years old, is being exposed or they're trying to expose her to think and believe that okay, this is normal. So obviously, I would probably have a challenge if I allow that in her for years.
Yeah.
That when she becomes older, that she wants to take part, she sees nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
So I think it is quickly being eroded and so. But I found one thing I want to say is I found that all the research I was doing, like countries that didn't do it or so, actually spoke about the U.S. influence as being part of the reasons why they had to actually curb it or so because it was coming from there. And I actually found, this is not data driven, but just from most of the readings I did, that the U.S. were like probably the number one in terms of pushing like Halloween and so. The commercialized side of
100%. And I mean, we could kind of figure out the reason why, right? Go figure. But Halloween across the globe, and again, I'm just going to be touching on it from more of a religious perspective.
Yeah.
Russian Christians don't really celebrate Halloween too much. Jehovah's Witnesses, most people who are affiliated with that faith don't either.
Okay.
Certain Orthodox Jews do.
Serious?
Yes.
That's okay. That was a little bit surprising.
Yeah, it's usually considered secular, so most of them don't, but
they have their
certain. Muslims, most of them don't. It's not something that they...
So would you say it's like similar to like how we view... Well, now Christianity is becoming different and that's blended, but like we would have the majority of Christians probably would agree that, okay, that's not something we'll participate in. But then you have smaller sections that are going ahead and do it. Is it like that's the kind of trend you... Like, because when you talk about most Muslims don't, but then you have a few of them that actually...
Actually, it's not really a popular thing, and I kind of have to explain what, like, just in reading and the things that I would have found specific to that faith.
Yeah.
There are some countries, Muslim nations, that it's permissible, but to a certain extent.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like they can't participate in everything. There are just certain
parts
aspects
of it that they will be allowed
permissible.
to. Okay.
Yeah, but there are some states that you can't. It's actually illegal, like Malaysia, for example. It was banned in 2014. Yeah, so you can't. It's actually illegal. In Egypt, that's the state that I was talking about, referring to before, in terms of like they're allowed to kind of partake in certain aspects of it.
Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. Some evangelical Christians, and I think we kind of touched on this earlier. Some Christians do reject it, but there are
a growing number. Let's say a growing number, right?
Yeah, a growing number that celebrate. Some Hindus do as well, not all. Some Mormons as well celebrate. So I just thought it's kind of cool just to like see like just the different faiths and what their take on the whole Halloween thing is, and some of their reasonings as well. I thought it was quite interesting.
I found what I was looking at there was a lot of countries that don't. It wasn't based on like religious mainly.
Okay.
Some of it was because they had their own festivals.
Ooh.
Different things that were too close by and so they were preserving their own culture. So it's actually kind of cool in some regards.
The whole praying for the dead and focus on the dead people aspect of it, of Halloween, there are some faiths that do that.
Yeah, that actually have their own festivals.
Correct. So I believe Muslims, they do pray for the dead.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a festival. I don't think that they do. I know Hindus have as well. So different faiths have different expressions of what that looks like. Yeah. It's just really interesting to see different communities.
I guess from a global aspect, it really, the research that we were doing really opens a different picture.
Yes.
Based on like what we thought initially, like just from the US stance of it. It's definite. But I don't know if you'll agree with this, but like for me, I felt like it may not be Halloween itself, but a lot of countries and faiths do have a belief about communicating with the dead, or at least making allowance for some sort of memory or tradition.
I agree.
With it.
I mean, just again, in research, you see it's in different ways.
Correct.
That it happens.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, cool.
So for me, I remember like when growing up with Halloween, right? My mom and dad, they always used to instill that on Halloween itself, like a lot more demonic activity is taking place. Okay. Even to the extent of if you go out in the streets, I remember she used to say, some of those characters you're seeing as actual demons, you know. And so I always, obviously, I never
had a conversation with moms there, boy.
So what's your take on that? Isn't that on that day?
What, the characters in the streets?
Not so much that, but just the level of evil and demonic activity. I even used to hear they talk about sacrifices being done on Halloween and stuff like that. So I know we spoke a lot about where it came from and stuff, but like that's just what I know from my bringing up. So like, what's your thoughts on those things?
He's what? You wanna leave?
I do agree that Halloween, like, there are certain people who practice witchcraft and stuff like that. It's a heightened day for things like that, activity like that, demonic stuff, if we were to put it that way. So yes, I do agree with that. However,
that it is present. That there is a dark element.
However, I would say that I don't think it's the only day that things like that happen. So I don't look at it like this day, like, you need to be overly cautious of like
stay in
going
your house
out or watching out for some demon on the streets, like I don't because I think like a mentality like that kind of brings in like a sort of fear factor, which I don't really vibe with. I not really like, I don't, so yeah.
So the way I look at that is I kind of had the same experience with it. Like,
wait, you used to see the thing in the road too?
That's the only part you latching on to, girl. Like that one.
I find that so interesting. I want to know where I used to live.
We'll try to protect that now. But I would say I got similar, maybe not as much, but definitely that it was treated with more caution because the actual celebration or participation of Halloween was more going on the dark side. No matter how much you dress up a child nicely or they look cute now it's superheroes and stuff, but it was there was the aspect of it between life and death was celebrated. So in that context, for us, I would see the benefit of even being overcautious with that. In the sense of me being a parent now. Like if I desensitize my children to that, it makes it much more easier. So I don't think Halloween, let me say this carefully, I don't think Halloween is more a threat modern day to getting people to worship the devil per se.
Yeah, okay.
Like how that TikTok spoke about worshiping Satan. But I think it's highly dangerous to introduce our children to New Age.
Yeah.
Accepted spiritual practices that our faith speaks against. When it comes to that, I do think that that is a day where just the general celebration of dark things, evil things or so, is heightened. So I do think there's a level of maybe intentionality that should be done in how we navigate those times. But I don't think it's as... I think for the majority of people who participate in Halloween, they're not even thinking about things like that.
Yeah, no.
Like satanic worship or anything like that. Right? Doesn't mean it's still right, but at the same time, I think we could acknowledge that, okay, it's not... So I'll say it this way. I don't think the danger is the day itself, but just more the concept around it and having us accept or play in the dark when we should be in the light.
Yeah. Something
like that is probably more... I don't know if I explained it properly, but...
No, yeah.
That's where I would take it. So
cool. So I have a quote, right?
You was excited about this quote?
Yes, I am excited about this quote, not so much the source, but Anton LaVey, which is remind me who he is? He's like the founder of the Church of Satan, right?
Yeah, and he wrote a Bible for the satanic worship,
Yeah. He said, I am glad that Christian parents let their children worship the devil at least one night out of the year. Yo, when I read that, I was like, no words.
Yeah.
It left me speechless. I was like he wasn't even tiptoeing around this thing. It was a very direct statement, and it kind of opened my eyes. I'm like,
he made similar statements around television as well, but we wouldn't go there. No, seriously, he had a very very different way of how he looked at society, and especially how Christians would stand against him with certain things, but then allow different
other
aspects.
Things.
So when he makes statements like that, he's showing up, I guess, because his take was like the hypocrisy with Christianity. So yeah, interesting quote. I mean, like how do you wrestle with that then in our modern culture then?
Exactly. I mean, I am not sure if the church is directly dealing with this issue. I'm not sure. In terms of like parents in Christian churches are wrestling with, should I let my kids participate or not? And like you mentioned, these things are in the school. They have dress-up days and Yeah, so I'm not sure how have you encountered like in the church itself issues like that, like people wrestling with just like that?
I don't think I've had any persons directly, but like even like pastors abroad, I've had conversations with them.
Yeah.
And so
I know like it's more prevalent there.
I think because, and I think we don't realize this. This is just my personal opinion. I think for most of us as Christians, we lose so much because we think the devil is in our lives trying to tempt us for something right now. But we fail to see that he plays a longer game. He's had thousands of years with mankind to know our weaknesses, knows our appetites, those things. And so while we keep seeing something that's right in front of us, and I say that because when you talk about like their tolerance or acceptance of it, is because if you grew up in the US, you and I might have been the same way.
Yeah.
Because it is so bombarded on you for the commercial side. But I think there is a spiritual undertone to it.
I mean, to be honest, like even growing up, I can see how had I not had the influence of my mom telling me, hey, this thing is demonic, basically, I would have gone down that route too because I grew up watching Disney.
So the catch with that, I have a different view now. So like our MP talking about like how his mom would have been like, overly cautious and maybe fearful to a certain extent. While I don't subscribe to that, I think those types of behaviors still protected us.
Yes, 100%.
And I think we lose that when we want to say, well, they didn't understand or whatever. But their overprotection kept us from the things that we're willing to open up to now.
Yeah.
So for me, that's real crazy. Like, cinema was something when I was growing up, was termed as something evil. Not because of the cinema itself, but what used to happen in the cinema, the characters, whether it had a little crime, whatever. Then we had modern cinemas produced where it was more sociably acceptable. Mm-hmm. But you know what I found as the worst part of this? Because we've made it so much easily accessible that anyone can go, now we have generations that expose to things that they should not be exposed to. That we didn't have that exposure to.
Yeah.
Because cinemas were deemed or taboo in the church world back then. And I'm not saying that cinemas are bad.
Yeah.
But you could go in a Christian's home and watch some foolishness. It's the content you're going after.
Yeah.
And I think similarly for Halloween, I think we have to look at it from that aspect. Okay. So for me, I take it as a wisdom issue.
Okay.
Are you going to participate in things like this? So like, what's your take if you had to like in terms of your faith? Like I know where you stand.
Yeah.
But tell me why then?
I think if I know that the foundation of a house is shaky, I will not walk into it. So similarly, because I know the root of this thing is shaky right. and demonic, I am not going to participate in it. Although it looks pretty and nice and community-oriented and harmless, I can't in good conscience...
Because of knowing where it started.
Correct.
So let me play devil's advocate.
Oh, Lord.
If it is, MP, you could chime in on this. So if it is that we had someone have enough literature, enough notes, enough historical documents that says, okay, this is actually not... So let's say they have enough evidence to bring into question the roots of Halloween. Mm-hmm. So like take away that aspect.
Yeah.
Is it something that you would still refrain from? Or because the reason I'm asking that is because I see people attack that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I even see Christians post, many respected people I follow as well, or at least take content from. They're in this space because they're Americans.
Yes.
And they're saying that, okay, it's not definitively or, precisely linked to these festivals that we talked about. So if you minus that then, what would you guys take be on participating or being part of?
I think when you look at the way Halloween is celebrated, beyond just the harmless parts, right. I think there is still enough evidence to support like what modern day culture has adopted Halloween to be for me to stay away from it because it's still dark. and in some ways very much rooted in witchcraft and things that are demonic. So even if it's not, it can't be traced back that far.
The current
what it is
involves all of that.
Involves all of that. So it's still going to be a no.
Yeah. And
yeah, along the same lines, because at the end of the day, we could just see, even though yes, you might have the Marvel characters, you might have the accepted costumes, the overall tendency. I sent you all a picture. I went into a store, and all you were seeing, it had like a lot of Halloween, stuff,
decorations and stuff.
You could tell it was evil. It was skulls. It was blood. It was So just the overall context of majority of what Halloween is about. Yeah, it's not something that I would want to participate in. But just piggybacking on what you had mentioned about the horrors. So like how you wanted to watch those horrors. I was the total opposite. In the sense of I remember, I think it had to be at Halloween time, because at Halloween time, all the
right, yeah, they're showing it, and they bring
it's
it
marketing,
out.
It's in the air, so that's why they'll push out those movies more than. And yeah, I was intrigued by it, but it used to scare me. That time, you were there. Were you there? Yes.
How she could be there? I don't understand.
Right?
Yeah, how you there? We were at a bunch of friends was Lyman, and we watched a movie. What was the name of it?
That's not a horror.
It was a horror.
That's not a horror.
Come on, don't do me that.
Paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Okay, so just more on the supernatural stuff.
That's not a horror.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's something else that I
You want to continue the story?
About
how that whole thing ended?
Yeah, don't matter.
What happened to you after you watched it?
I was very, very afraid.
Yeah, but what did you do as a result?
I had to call my dad to open the gate.
Right.
So I could have drive.
Where you slept?
And I slept in my mom's bedroom for like the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. But yeah, I just piggybacking on like what I used to learn in those times. Like that's another thing. When we watch movies, I will always say people used to tell me it will open up like so like what you're seeing, it will allow like spirits to be there watching it with you, and that extent of so
okay.
I just wanted to just bring that
Well, for me I wouldn't over spiritualize it, but you can't deny that, because just from your experience, here's what you said, it induced faith.
Yeah.
And that is what it celebrates. That's what it's geared towards.
Yeah.
And for our faith, that's not where we should be living. So yeah, I used to watch the horrors, but I used to get real scared at times too. I remember like one movie I watched, like when I was young, right? I was still in primary school, but I remember watching it. I wasn't supposed to watch it.
Exactly.
And it's Pet Cemetery. What? And all them stray dog and thing outside my aunt and them place. We were staying by my grandmother, and that night I didn't sleep. Not one wink of sleep. Every dog that barked, I remember the animals from that. It was a horror, like legit horror. And but yeah, I grew up with that. So there's that spirit of fear is one thing. But I do believe now, in terms of things I've researched, and I know we won't go too deep into it, but I agree with the MP in that I still think that there are things that it does open us up to.
Yeah.
Spiritually.
So again, like you mentioned, we have to use wisdom in that regard.
For me, Halloween is a wisdom issue.
Yes.
If you tell me that the reason you participate in Halloween is because of the community and all that, then I'll say then you're not living in a way that, because what I want to say is this: if that's the only day that you get in that, then something is wrong with how you live in every other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like if they say, okay, well, I am living like that all the other days, but I'm just participating in it because it's an added bonus where I have access to more people and
Sure.
Yeah.
I get that. But you don't have to participate in it to get access to the people. It makes it convenient. It makes it easy. But we as Christians, that's not the criteria.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather you go out of your way to invite your neighbors for lunch or for dinner. That will cost you more. That will cost you your time, your finances, like the awkwardness, all that. I would rather you go the extra mile doing that to reach those neighbors than saying, well, I'm just going to piggyback off of something that actually celebrates darkness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just me. That's my personal opinion.
So just to summarize again, we had asked a question to the beginning, should Christians participate? And like you said, it's a wisdom thing. And we kind of answered that.
My opinion is you should not. That's just me. That's just me.
I would have to agree with you as well. MP?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We don't want him scared.
For real.
Final question before we wrap things up, right?
Question.
Hypothetically, if on the 31st of October you all had to go out and dress up as a costume, what would it be?
Why would we have to?
Just saying, if
I don't like to be forced, so I was never going.
What you would have liked to
what
what would have been your go-to costume?
Go-to costume, Joshua? None?
Oh gosh, you must have a little Disney character you would have liked to dress up as, a little
really.
Lizzie McGuire or something.
We know you're fond of Lizzie. But I don't know. I don't answer this question, yeah?
So, it would have to be something with a lion. Or if it had to be like a character or something, because I just love lions. But if it had to be like a character or something, Bane from Batman. Just for that one fight scene.
Right.
Yeah. Victory has defeated you.
What you would dress up as?
I like Vikings, so I don't mind doing a little,
Hey, yeah, boy. Yeah.
Vikings
is the same.
Interesting.
And you?
I still didn't answer this question.
Gosh, people want to know.
I don't like to dress up.
The people want to know.
I don't know. I don't even know why I like a cat. Or angel. Anyways, guys, so that's it from us. We enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this episode.
Yeah,
I learned a lot as well prepping for it. So
yeah, honestly, opened my eyes to a lot more around it.
100%. As always, we just want to thank those of you that view us on WESN. We love you guys. You can check us on our socials. That's on TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Okay.